You're listening to Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair. For more information, check out chrisblair.com. In this episode, I'm sitting down with Emily Brooke. Emily is one of my Unsigned Artists of the Month from 2022. She's a new up-and-coming artist. She's going to tell the story behind her song Sidetracked, about her journey to American Idol, and how she got into music. And it's just an awesome episode. Let's get to it. Hey guys, this is Chris Blair, and this is Chris Blair's Stories Behind the Songs, here with Emily Brooke, who also was one of our Unsigned Artists of the Month. Emily, so good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's just start from the beginning. You're from Florida.
Yes.
What got you to Nashville and got you into loving music so much?
So I actually started taking guitar lessons when I was about 9 years old, and I was in cheer at the time. My parents couldn't afford both, and it was when like Taylor Swift and Hannah Montana were like, you know, thebomb.com, like probably JoJo Siwa today for the kids nowadays. But I just absolutely love that they were females, like near my age, within like 5 years or so, and they played guitar, and I just never seen that in like younger females. And so I really wanted to take guitar lessons, and so I chose to do guitar lessons over cheer for a little bit. And I actually wanted to quit at first, but my mom, growing up, her mom would always let her quit anything that she wanted. Like, wasn't like, you know, make sure to learn it first and then you can quit. So my parents' thing with us growing up was at least learn it to where you can say, I could play a song on guitar, and then if you still hate it, then you can quit. Because I was like, my fingers hurt, my nails are so ugly. Like, it was all of the things. Like, even this morning, I have like my really cute like Wolverine type spooky goblin nails going on. I had to file them down to play guitar today. And but yeah, that was always my thing. And my mom was like, well, I'm not letting you quit. My mom always let me quit everything. So just make sure you can learn how to play a song. And then if you hate it, you can. And so here we are. I just loved the fact that I could do it, and just started playing at coffee shops. And my guitarist had me out at their show that they had every Saturday night. And it was just so fun. It became one of those things where me and this other kid, Alex Shaw, and our guitar teacher was Mark Breffy. He would have us out, and he's this like rock and roll, long black hair, like tattoos, piercings and stuff. And so it was just so funny because I had like a little bob blonde haircut. And you probably saw like me coming out to play and was like, what in the world is she about to do? Because he's playing like Led Zeppelin and like all this heavy metal stuff. And then I come out like, you're the reason for the teardrops on my guitar. But it was really great experience. And so me and Alex Shaw, we played that show with him like every single Saturday, and it became a thing where the venue is like, it was like this restaurant. Like, if you like, we love having you, just make sure every week you bring like that little blonde girl. And so that's kind of cool. How I got my reoccurring like every weekend gig. So I'd play there every Saturday night with them. And then I think around 13, 14, Alex and I took it over, and we did it. We'd split the time like an hour and a half each. And then when I was 15, I never really watched American Idol that much. But my mom and my dad did. My mom especially loved it. I'd watch it every single night, and I was like, like, it's cool. I'd watch a little bit of it, and then I'd like go in my room or something.
Oh, but it's cool. Just like no big deal. And then you end up on American Idol.
Yeah, it was insane. Like it was a weird timing thing. I'm very big on like, I feel like I have very good intuition, and I pick up vibes on people very well. And I also like believe like, oh my gosh, that's a sign, or like you're supposed to see something when, or like feel something when you're supposed to. And so this night I had like walked out of my room randomly, and the exact second that I had walked out, it was when Ryan Seacrest, Caleb had just won, and he was like, this could be you. And he was pointing at the camera like he was looking directly into my soul, and he was like, this could be you. Come in and audition next year. You could be the next American Idol. And so then it kind of like lit a fire under me. I was like, well, maybe I'm like supposed to go and do this. And so I asked my parents, they're super supportive, and they're like, of course, like we can't afford to like take you to Nashville to go do these auditions. And so I was like, well, if I can afford to pay for it, can I do it? And they're like, well, of course. So I gigged like every single weekend, had multiple shows, and I was also working at a concession stand at a baseball field and just trying to make like as much money as I could to pay for it. So I did, and we drove up to Nashville when I was like 15. I did the audition. First, you do the whole cattle call thing. So it's like 7 booths of each, like 2 or 3 executives at each booth. And then you're literally separated by a curtain. And there's 4 people at each booth trying to audition. So all of these people are singing and auditioning at the same time that you are with these other things. So you're hearing everything all at the same time. It was insane. It was one of the most wild things. That was the day I realized I had anxiety because I was in the med, like nobody knows this, but I was in the med's office like the whole entire time. I was a minor. So my mom was like sitting in it was the National Municipal Auditorium. She was sitting there like waiting for our section of the auditorium to be called. And I was like, I just feel so sick. I feel so sick. I'm so nauseous. I'm going to throw up, like lightheaded. Like I didn't know what was going on. I just thought I was so sick, had a stomach bug or something. And I was in there all day, was white as a ghost. And our section got called. I went, I did my audition. Everybody's singing at the same time. And out of like the 4 people in my group, I was the only one that got through that round. So then after that, it was just kind of crazy. It was like you do your group of that, and then you come back 2 days later for your executive rounds. And then if you make it through your executive, like EP1, EP2, then you come back 2 days later and you're in front of the judges. So you actually go through a good bit before you get like on TV. It's just crazy.
That's just, it's mind boggling to like have to go and hear all these other people singing at the same time and then like, and do that. So, but then obviously it worked. You were the one that picked. And then, so what was the journey after that then?
It was really wild, a lot of fun. It was definitely a blessing that I was a minor when I did it, because it was amazing being able to have my mom there, because once you get through that first, like, judge's audition, you wait, it was a couple months after the fact, because I think I auditioned in July, and then like October, November, fly you out to Hollywood. If you make it through Hollywood, then you stay an extra week. But if you didn't, then you would go home. Well, so Hollywood week, between me and my mom combined, we probably got maybe 3 hours of sleep. Because it was just one of those things where like, okay, you get there, you like figure out what's going on, you are practicing, you're trying to pick your song, and it was very Hunger Games-esque vibes with that, because they had, no, this is totally behind the scenes, but they had like whiteboards on the like boardroom level of the hotel. So we were staying at like the Dolby Hotel. And so each of the like boardroom ballrooms or whatever had different whiteboards, and each of them have different lists of songs. So you didn't know which door had what song. So you kind of had to like run and try to see if that was the song that was on, and you had to write your name before anybody else wrote your name. They had to start at the bottom of these escalators and then like run up and try to find. It was the most crazy thing. So once you get that, you're rehearsing the song, and then, you're just anticipating your performance. You do your performance, and then immediately from that, like, you're going through everybody that's on the stage that was going through. They were like, okay, pick your groups. Like, right then. And so from the jump, you're just going. So we practiced.
I don't understand how like this process made you realize what anxiety is.
I know, right?
It seems so easy. Like,
right?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
God, it's crazy.
It was like insanity. And I thought too, I had food poisoning that week, because it was just the constant nausea, but also too, like, I grew up, having a seizure disorder. And so at the time I was like prescribed too much for like my like body size and stuff. And so I was taking double the amount of normal dose, and I hated taking it because it always made me feel like crap. So I would never, like, I would just like not let my mom know I wasn't taking it. Well, this week she was on me because I didn't want to, like, you know, get sick, and then it ended up being the thing that was making me even sicker. So it was just a bunch of things. But yeah, it was a wild week, just absolutely nonstop. It's one of those things where it's like you learn the show must go on. Like, there was producers that had like a trash can side stage ready for me for my group round in case I needed to run off and throw up. Like, it was wild.
Yeah.
But 15, rocking and rolling.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty amazing. Like, you get to experience that at 15. You know, lots of, I'm sure lots of contacts and, you know, really cool behind the scenes kind of thing. Then you end up in Nashville and you start writing and doing everything here. And I first saw you when you played at the listening room with Song Suffragettes.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, I was in the front. I walked through the office, and I was walking back to my office that used to be back here in the corner. And I hear so much music all the time that it really takes a lot to get me to just stop. And it was the first time I ever saw you, and you were playing with Song Suffragettes, and I like wasn't even paying attention. I'm walking across and I was like, wait, who is this? And I just stopped and I stood back in the corner by the bathrooms and just listened to your song. And then I went up to Todd and I was like, hey, who is that girl? So, I mean, that was a while back, but
yeah, I think I started playing with them when I was like 17.
Yeah. So,
crazy.
yeah. So your journey, like, through that process and getting into Nashville and all of that, like, when did you figure out like that you had the talent to put pen to paper and take all of these thoughts in your mind and make it as beautiful as you make your songs?
Aw, thank you. I'm going to try to make a long story short because since I started at such a young age, I just have so much that's happened and that has influenced that. So I'd say there's like a couple super influential moments in my career that I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. First one being about a year after I started taking guitar lessons. Everybody was always like super complimentary and super sweet, like telling my parents, like complimenting me. And so my parents, they're like, oh, thank you so much. But at the same time, as my parents, they're like, well, we think she's amazing. But like, do they actually think she's amazing, or are they just being nice because they know us?
Yeah.
So there was a Colgate Country Showdown happening in northern Florida at Swanee River. And my mom somehow found out about it. And at the time, my brother and I were in the middle of like a theater camp that week. And we were having our big show that night. And my mom comes and pulls us and she's like, we're driving 8 hours right now to go do this singing competition. And I was like 10. And so we drove and did it. And I ended up winning in this city that nobody knew who I was. I was like 10 years old and it was all age ranges too. But so then I went on to states, and I've actually met a couple friends through that competition that I'm still friends with. And so that was probably one when I was little, but I was just like, oh, this is really cool. It wasn't like, oh, this is what I'm meant to do. But It was definitely like a step. And then when I was 13, I went to a Taylor Swift concert, and we were like in the nosebleeds, and she started singing Long Live. And I can't play that song like live without like crying. But she started singing this song and you couldn't even hear her. Like, everybody in the stadium was like a million times louder than she was. And it was just, I was never an emotional child, and just tears overwhelmed me. I started crying, and my mom was like, what is going on? Because she's never seen me like that before. And I was like, it's just so cool. Like, everybody's singing all the words. And at the time, like, knowing that was my initial reaction, I was like, this is what I meant to do. Like, the fact that none of these people know each other and they're all singing so much louder than the actual artist, and they just connect to this lyric, but nobody knows anybody, but they're all connected through this song. It's just insane. And then fast forwarding, I was on the show, and the first season that I was on, it was just kind of like, you know, like practice on your stage presence, because I had always played guitar my whole career leading up to then. And got off the show, probably did like 200 shows afterwards that year, just to like really practice,
Wow,
like playing
that's a
with a
lot.
band, and yeah, just putting my guitar down, being comfortable on the stage. And then came back and they noticed a difference, and I was like, okay, well, actually, I think it was in my first audition. They were like, wow, you like really, like you were the perfect like case to show like you took what we said and you did it. And so after that, I was like, well, I've worked on the stage part of things. Now I really want to focus on songwriting, because I started songwriting when I was like 10, but nowhere near obviously as serious as now. But I did like an album when I was 13 with Billy Yates, and he was like my first co-writer. So we co-wrote a couple songs and other songs here and there. But after the show, I was really like, okay, I need to go to Nashville. I need to be writing, because that's the other component in this, is to be like a fluent songwriter and be able to compel people with your stories. And with the whole Taylor Swift thing, I'm like, I need to be able to write. So yeah, then I just really started coming back and forth, and I feel like those are kind of the key components of what was like, all right, this is my time. Like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Like, start focusing and make the jump.
I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much that we can uncover. We're going to have a follow-up, because there's like knowing like part of your story and some cool things that I really want to know more about, like you sitting on the front porch with your dad watching hurricanes come in just for fun. Like some really cool stuff. But I know we only have a few more minutes left, and I really want to talk about, it was an awesome opportunity to go to St. Augustine with you not too long ago.
So much fun.
And during that week being the same week that your last song came out.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that, so that the listeners, know that song, stories behind that one, and then, just more about how to follow you. And that's so big in the industry today. It's
gosh, yeah.
It's frustrating at the same time. Like when I see, artist A and artist B, and that's why I love music. It's so subjective, but like my opinion, like this artist could be like so much better than this artist, right? But because this artist that's not that good has 300,000 followers than this one, it's like, well, we'll take that one. And it's just like, so everybody needs to go follow Emily Brooke.
Yes, please.
But
please.
let's talk about your last release.
Yeah. So my most recent single is called Sidetracked. I wrote it with Ava Sapelsa and Andy Skibb.
Such a good song. Love it.
Thank you. I kind of wanted to do like a fun little last summer song before going into fall. And I kind of come in being like talking about that, doing some sort of fun summery vibe thing. And we were just bouncing around different song titles, and Ava had this one called Sidetracked. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. What if we did it like a flipped way? Then her idea originally, I don't want to spoil it so somebody else takes it. But so we ended up taking it the way that we did, and it came out really, really cool. So we wrote it at Andy's house, and then he produced the heck out of it. And it was just kind of inspired by my boyfriend and all of our, like us in the room, like our relationships and how things just get crazy with like the go and flow of life. So get a little sidetracked.
Yeah. So obviously knew at a very young age that you loved this. You got the opportunity to be a part of American Idol. Yeah. You are writing and releasing amazing songs.
Thank you.
And have a career that I am quite certain is going to go very well for you.
Thank you. I hope so.
So if you are sitting here on this couch right now talking to 10-year-old Emily or anyone out there listening that is following this dream, or whether anything creative, right? Like, what would you say to them at this point?
This is always like my go-to, because I always have to tell myself this, and it's It's not often, but there are definitely times like that I do have to tell myself and remind myself, like, if this is something that you're passionate about and something that you can't imagine your life without, then don't give up. Like, I myself, like, when I was trying to move to Nashville and coming back and forth, like, every month I was working like 3 jobs and doing all my shows on the weekends. I've been a med spa receptionist. I've worked at a pizza place. I have been like a sales lead at Francesca's. Like, I've done like so many different avenues of like, jobs and stuff. And there's just not been anything that brings me the same joy as like being on stage, or when you finish that song and then you're like, oh, this is really good. You like listen to it like your whole drive home and you're like, the whole time, like that feel good feeling, like you created something out of nothing, or like you make something that makes somebody else feel something. And it's just as cliche as it is. It's a cliche for a reason, but don't give up, because like there'll be times that I'll get in my head and I'm like, well, what if? I mean, there's so many people like in this town, and I've been doing it for so long, but then I'm like, nope. Like the second that starts creeping into my head, I'm like, no, like there's no other way that this is going to end. Like, because you have to put it out there. And if you don't believe in yourself and you don't think you're going to make it, I feel like other people can see that.
Yeah.
So that's my
100%
piece of advice. Keep
Sounds
kicking it.
like your parents' advice from a long time ago is still sticking with you. That, don't quit. Don't give up.
Exactly.
So that's awesome. So how can everybody follow you?
Y'all can follow me by Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, all of the things. Instagram is Emily Brooke with an E on the end. Facebook is Emily Brooke Music. Same thing with TikTok. It's also Emily Brooke Music. And Twitter's Emily Brooke.
Awesome. So. And we will have in our liners, we will put links to all of your socials and all of that. But I know you've got to go, so we've got to cut it short. But we are going to follow up and do another one of these, because there's so much more to uncover with Emily Brooke. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of this. And we're honored to have you as an unsigned artist that we get to highlight this year. And just can't wait to watch things just rock for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. This is Chris Blair with the stories behind the songs with Emily Brooke. This has been an episode of Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair. For more information after the show, head over to chrisblair.com. That's where you can find information on these episodes, trailer notes, video links, all kinds of great stuff. Also, make sure to leave us a great rating on iTunes, like and follow us on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. I really hope that you think this show is awesome, and we really appreciate the love and support. I promise to keep gathering great content and continuing to sit down with more amazing songwriters and artists as we grow. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for the support. We'll see you next time.